Welcome back to Ending Analytics, my channel where I teach beginner programmers that no CS topic is too difficult to learn if given enough dedication. In today's video, I'm going to try my best to explain the concept of threading and why I believe it's important for our creation of Gerald. Before I begin to dive into any new complex subject within the realm of CS, what I like to do is ask ChatGPT for an explanation. One thing that I like to do is ask ChatGPT how they would explain this concept to a 6th grader, high schooler, and then finally to a college graduate. As you can see in the ChatGPT prompt below, I want ChatGPT to explain the concept of threading in 3 different short paragraphs. Let's see what it says. Threading allows for the concurrent execution of different tasks. So now if we analyze the 6th grade response, we can see ChatGPT makes a comparison to 2 friends working in a kitchen. If you were to work alone in the kitchen, making cake batter and chopping vegetables, you would make the cake batter first and then you would chop the vegetables. Threading is like having 2 friends working on that task. While you're making the cake batter, your friend could be chopping vegetables. Now on to the high school explanation. GPT compares threading to multiple workers in an assembly line. Each worker or thread performs a specific task. Now on to the college graduate response. If you're like me and you understand the 6th grade response and the high school senior response, don't worry about fully understanding the college response. This is where things start to get a little bit more complex. All you really need to know in order to finish out this Gerald project is that threading allows for concurrent execution of tasks. Now that we have a baseline understanding of what threading is, we can hop right into the code. Let's get started. Today we're going to make a new file called t.py. Hit the plus sign to make a new Sublime Text file, and then make sure to save the file immediately. When you're naming the file, don't name it threading.py, because when we import the threading library, there could be some circular references that will throw an error, so make sure to name it anything but threading.py. So for today's video, I'm going to name it t.py. Now, unlike the other Python libraries that we've utilized before in our code, threading is not a library that we need to download with our command prompt. Therefore, we can immediately just import the threading library. For the purpose of this example, we're also going to import the library time. Time is also another Python library that comes standard when you download Python on your computer. For this example, we're going to have 2 methods. The first method is going to print numbers. The second method is going to print letters. We're going to create the print numbers method first. To print out some numbers, we're going to use a simple for loop and have it print 1 through 10. One key part that I forgot to mention about threading is that when one function is running, in the milliseconds of downtime between a computer function executing, it'll execute another function. So we're going to manually make each function have a little bit of a staggered input. So that's why we're going to include the line of code time.sleep1. This means that this function is going to have a second of downtime in the middle of it between printing out each number. Now for our second function, what we're going to do is print out letters. We're going to create another simple for loop, and we're also going to include the time.sleep function again. And then finally, we're going to have it print out the letter. So if you were to normally just call the function print number, it'll print out all the numbers and take 10 seconds. And then if you were to call the function print letters, it would take another 10 seconds and print all the letters consecutively. Let's go over to the command prompt and make sure that this is true. Once you're in the right directory of where your file is located, type out t.py and hit enter. We're going to see in a slow and grueling 20 seconds, it's going to print out the numbers first and then print out the letters. Alright, we've confirmed this is true. Now, let's integrate the idea of threading into this project and see if we can get the functions to print alternatively. To do this, we're going to make 2 thread objects, the first one being called thread1 and the second being called thread2. If we're to break down this thread1 object, we can see here that we're calling the threading library, we're calling the thread class, and then we're passing this argument to it. And then rather than calling the method print number like we normally would, with parentheses behind it like you can see here, we're just naming the method almost like it's a variable. Now that that's clear, we're going to create the second thread. This thread's target is going to be print letters. Now we're not done yet. We have to start the threads. And in order to start the threads, we type thread1 dot start. And then to start thread 2, we do the same thing. After this, to tell our computer to stop running these threads, we have to call 2 more functions. Thread1 thread1.join and thread2.join. These join functions tell our computer system to stop running the methods that we've started in the threads above. With all of this said and done, make sure to hit Control S and let's go back over to the command prompt. If you hit up on the arrow keys, you'll easily be able to access your last command prompt statement and hit enter. Alright, look at this. A0, 1B, 2C. Alright, so we can see that this was a success. Pretty cool. In just 21 lines of code, you've now created your first program running 2 threads concurrently. Now you might be asking yourself, how does this fit into the whole scope of Gerald? In the first half of these videos, we've covered the brain of Gerald, but now we got to give Gerald a face. And in order to do this, we're going to need the GPT brain doing all this in the background while we create a Pygame visualizer for Gerald as well. So ultimately, I'm going to have 2 threads running, but what is happening at the same time is that the microphone is going to be picking up our audio and transferring that to GPT while we see a sine wave changing amplification depending on the audio level that's being spoken into and out of our computer. So we need threading to be able to do those 2 program tasks at the same time. If this doesn't quite make sense to you right now, don't worry about it. As we continue to progress through the next video and then ultimately the final video of the series, it'll all make sense. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them down in the comments. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing. It really helps me reach more people and motivates me to bring you more amazing content. Thanks again, stay hungry for knowledge, see you in the next video.